Starting with the UN chief himself, Antonio Guterres, like we just heard, who gave a State of the World report. What was his assessment of how things are looking from his point of view?
Well, I think you pretty much covered it. Things are pretty bleak. He said the world is teeming with turmoil and global discontent is on the horizon. But he did try and find some positives. He said there's hope, and he called for action around it, and he said that the world needs to unite and be a coalition as United Nations. So he really tried to stress that there are so many threats out there. There's no time to be fractured and at each other's throats. We really need to come together.
And you could
especially
tell that
with climate change. He saved some of the strongest language for climate change.
Absolutely. And you could tell that there's a sense of urgency in his tone. But Senegal's President Macky Sall, who is also the head of the African Union, was the first African leader to address the assembly. What are some of the issues he addressed in his speech?
Yeah, his speech was really more a Pan-African speech rather than a domestic speech, because most leaders talk about issues that are pertinent to their own country. But Macky Sall is, as you mentioned, the AU president, and he spoke a lot about the AU. He said the AU should have a seat in the G20 so that Africa can be represented in a place where decisions affecting the 1.4 billion Africans are being made. He drew a line under the youth in Africa. He said Africa is a solutions place, and we have a vibrant and creative youth in Africa. They innovate, they're entrepreneurs, they work hard. So we need investment in them, and we need to create wealth and generate jobs for them. And he said Africa wants to engage with all of its partners in a reinvented relationship. So he was definitely very Pan-African in his speech. And he said Africa does not want to be the place of a new Cold War. He said Africa has suffered enough with the burden of history. And I think that is sort of an allusion to what's going on now with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A lot of African leaders have said they're being pressed by both Russia and the West to pick a side. And they don't really want to.
Now, Margaret, before I let you go, traditionally the U.S. president speaks second on the first day of the debate. Why didn't President Biden speak during his time slot?
Well, Queen Elizabeth's funeral on Monday sort of threw things into a bit of a mess in New York because so many world leaders went to her funeral, and so many of them are still making their way to New York, so a lot of speeches are shifting. But also President Biden, who traditionally is the host country leader, speaks second on the opening day, didn't speak today, and in fact that's when Macky Sall spoke. He will speak on Wednesday in the morning at some point, and we have two more African leaders we're going to hear from on Monday, President of the DRC, Tshisekedi, and the head of state for Central African Republic, Touadera.